Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today, we're going to be talking about the one and only Kaspa, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, there is roughly 2 weeks left until the massive update. If you guys don't know, May 5th is pretty much when Kaspa is going to pack a punch its coin going from 1 BPS to 10 BPS. So, pretty much improving by 10 times the amount, which is why I am making lots of Kaspa content, which is why I believe this coin will do wonders. Okay. As we know, ladies and gentlemen, Kaspa continues to grow, and Kaspa has been a weird project overall, I would say. Even though, the way they want to approach is probably the best, most fundamental way in crypto, right? But that doesn't always necessarily mean, right away, some big pump. We can even see in terms of the market structure, right? That Kaspa pretty much from the end of 2023 to the beginning of 2025 was ranging for over a year, right? Ranging from roughly 10 cents upwards of, 18, 19, 20 cents. And then, of course, everything crashed, including Kaspa, including so many other coins. So it was not a Kaspa issue. People thought, Kaspa was getting suppressed by certain exchanges. I mean, that was just simply not the case. The reality is all coins were dumping. So yeah, Kaspa dumped, right? It retested off of these highs over here, right? These were the last relevant highs before we pumped. So, we count this. These are last relevant highs. We pumped, we retraced, we retested, and now we are continuing to push up. Last week was very, very weird because of the low amount of volume, right? So, but we were still technically creating higher highs and higher lows. I mean, even if we take away the wicks, we can see, right? The floor was just gradually increasing every single day, which is why this week, right away, we just pumped up. Now we are at a nice zone. This is actually a pretty big and important zone for us to maintain and hold, because if we do this, then our next zone will be 11 cents. And as I stated before on the channel, that 11 cents is a very massive zone, right? The reason why it's a very massive zone, ladies and gentlemen, is if I go on the monthly, we can see that there's lots of monthly structure and support, roughly, let's just say between the 10 to 11 cent area. So once we reclaim 11 cents, we should not see price go below it unless it's super short term, maybe down to 10 to 9.5 cents as a wick until the bear season, right? So that is what I expect for this coin, right? On the bigger picture, of course, we still have to get there. I do believe this is going to be the expansion candle, and I do believe, whether or not we continue just straight up going up, or we have a little bit of retracement, or whatever the case is, I do believe we will be holding this 8 cent area. Okay. Now, the only thing that could possibly pull it back, right, is this zone right here that I have marked up. Kaspa and Bitcoin had very similar structure. And I expect Bitcoin to try to push to, 91, 92, or even 93K this week. But there is still a fake out demand zone right here on the daily, right? So if we were to, this week to come back down here, we could see a 5 to 6% fall. And if that were the case, then Kaspa would obviously suffer as well, probably a similar amount. But since it's an altcoin, there's a decent chance it would suffer even more. So if we go to Kaspa USD, right? If we were to suffer, let's just say 10% loss, then look, we would retest off of this huge consolidation zone right over here, right? Go from here to here, roughly 10%, even, 11, but we should not be going really below this structure, in my opinion, right? This structure, we should not really be going below. I do not believe so, right? We can see that we have, created a double bottom, and now we are looking to continue the momentum to the upside. So I'm super excited for this coin and its future, right? We can see that recently, pretty much 10 days ago, it was listed on another exchange. But ladies and gentlemen, that is not the thing I want to show you. The thing is, right, you should follow Kaspa's Twitter. It is very, very important to stay up to date with your coin and tokens, right? We can see this was on the 8th of April, so it is a little outdated, but it's still the same thing, right? Crescendo hard fork 1.001 update. A week after the announcement of the Crescendo release, about 12.52% of maintenance blocks are produced by the new nodes. And we can see that this on May 5th is approximately when we will get pack-a-punched, right? So it's very, very exciting times for this coin. I really do think this coin will create wonders. If you guys don't know about this coin, practically it is trying to become the new Bitcoin, right? If I was supposed to just say one sentence, it's practically trying to become the new Bitcoin because it mines a certain amount of blocks per second. It produces a certain amount of blocks per second. And if I actually show you very, very quickly, if I find the video, then I can show you a prime example of how this works and why it is super, super strong and efficient and why it is going to take over the crypto space, right? So we're about to see this video in just a second. So like I was yapping about earlier, here is the, proof of work, the proof of stake for Kaspa, right? We can see that we were on 1 BPS. Actually, we'll rewind just a second. So we can see there's SUI, Hyperliquid, LTC, XRP, Solana, Bitcoin, and Kaspa, right? Proof of work for this coin, right? We are at 1 BPS, and we can see that we are much quicker than Bitcoin at this current moment. We're quicker than XRP, LTC, and we are behind a little bit on SUI and some other coins, right? But ladies and gentlemen, the thing is we are going to pack a punch to 10 BPS. And look how fast we are going, all right? We are completely dominating and we are catching up. And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, in the future, we will be going to 100 blocks per second. So yeah, it is moving so quick that it looks like it's just in the same area, right? In the same two areas. That's how quick it is moving. So this is why I'm super, super high in this project, because eventually this will be 100x the coin it is today. You have to understand, Kaspa will be 100 times the coin it is today in a few couple short months or years. And in a few weeks, it is going to be 10 times the coin it is today. So this is why I'm super, super hyped about this coin, right? We can see once we got to 100 BPS, right? We're at 3,665 blocks. We were literally 10 times more than, Hyperliquid and etc. But even when we were at 10 speed, look how fast we were going, right? We were dominating the game, and we will continue to dominate the game, which is why I am super, super stoked and optimistic about this coin, which is why I know it is going to do well. At this current moment, ladies and gentlemen, we do have structure above this weekly candle. I do want to see Kaspa close above here, right? It would be the most optimal, right? Especially the further we go, the harder the close, the better, right? At this current moment, it is looking good. Obviously, it is still early days, but I am still super, super optimistic about this coin. We do have this weekly order block here, which I don't think we should fall that hard unless, I just read some things wrong, right? We crashed 20%. 20% is a big crash, which means Bitcoin would have to crash a decent amount, right? Even if Bitcoin crashed the zone, that's only, 6%. Bitcoin would have to crash all the way to these bottoms again for us to even consider that. But I'm not considering that at the moment. So yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.